Okay, here we go. So welcome to the Division One meeting for October. I think you all know our clinic today is going to be a make and take clinic of a loading dock that Duane has labored over immensely for the last couple of days. I want to first thank David Crumpton and Texas Western for letting us meet here. And David, do you have any announcements or anything to say?
Sure, thank you, Dave. Well, just going to say in 2 weeks for us here at the club. If you notice the posting that the Cowcatcher division put out, 2 weeks ago we lost a very, very valuable and good friend to our club, Donovan Pankey. You might have seen Donovan here from time to time, and he always had his son Cameron with him, who is 14 years old. So Donovan was 43. He was killed in an automobile accident in Ohio when he was in business. So he leaves behind a wife, a 16-year-old son, a 14-year-old son, and a 10-year-old daughter. His services were held yesterday in Arlington, and it was a real, real nice service with a lot of people having a chance to get up and talk and express their feelings, emotions, remembrances of Donovan. So in honor of him, if you could please join with me for just a few seconds with a moment of silence. We'll do that for Donovan now. Thank you.
David, anything else?
Yes. Donovan was very instrumental in getting our LCC signaling and detection started. He had basically been working on this end over here around the port area where the track goes through the wall, and we can detect what's on the other side. So Donovan was way ahead of all of us in the understanding of electronics and putting that together. So he will be sorely missed as a club member and as just a good friend and somebody who always brought joy to us. So Donovan, wherever you are, we hope the train ride is nice and you're enjoying the view. The other thing I'd like to pass along to you is under the big table, we have covered up are a lot of books that were donated. We're having a big sale today. Big books, $2. Little books, $1. We take a charge card. Trapper's going to have the charge machine fired up so you can charge. They make wonderful Christmas gifts. Wonderful Christmas gifts.
What you're saying is we're going to see a whole bunch of these at the Christmas party.
Exactly. Before you get out of here today, to look them over, we would like to see the table clean because they are heavy and cumbersome to take to the Plano show to sell. And most times over there, they don't sell that well. So if you can afford it and you see some books that you like, $2 for the big ones, $1 for the little ones. If we're not sure what is big and little, we'll err on the side of generosity and offer it for $1. But we'd like to see those gone. And what's left, we're going to put in a tub and put in our hallway where we store all our other sale stuff. So that's going to start during the break and after the make and take. So please buy some books and enjoy. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you, David. I want to remind everybody we have a layout tour after this meeting. It's a great layout. I'm sure you'll all enjoy it, and I'll be handing out the addresses and the time of the open house at the end of at the conclusion of the make and take. Okay? Thank you very much. I want to welcome our members via Zoom, and we have Don Hummel, Betty Mitchell, Train Meister. I don't know who that is.
The Train Meister.
Can we unmute the Train Meister to have him say who that is?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Lee Bangma, Division 3, but I've been tuning in lately on your Zoom calls and been enjoying it.
Okay, welcome all the Zoom viewers. Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
Yep.
I want to remind everybody Well, first of all, I want to announce that Chris Garlino has resigned as the communications director, our manager, and Eric Smith is going to be taking over. Well, Eric, would you stand up? We'll be taking over for Chris. And Eric was instrumental in getting the announcements out for the meeting and the whistle out this week. So we're in capable hands from a communication standpoint, which then leads me into the next topic. Groups.io. I want to make sure everybody is aware that this is a powerful tool to share ideas, to bounce ideas off people, and I would encourage you to use it. There are we have seen some people talk about, well, I get too many emails, I don't get enough emails, I'm just overwhelmed with the thing. And there's a way to manage your email and the preferences of your email. And Eric, you want to talk to people about that?
Yeah, when you go into Groups.io, by the way, you can get to Groups.io from our Cowcatcher division webpage. If you go in there and you look, there's a link that will take you straight to Groups.io, and then you log in. If you haven't logged in, go ahead and log in. You have all of your email addresses already in there. So don't worry about that. You know where you are. But once you're in Groups.io, on the top left column is a line that says subscription. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Chris did send out, or Steve sent out an email that said you can go in there and you can change your personal settings for what you want to see as emails. You can say, hey, I want only one email a day. That's a digest. I don't want any emails. That's no email. Or if you just want the special bulletins, you can actually select special bulletins on there also. And like Dick said, this is a bulletin board. And as a bulletin board, if you have questions or ideas or thoughts, just go ahead and post them out there and see what other people have to chime in. And you just post it as a new topic, and then people can add messages to your topic.
Okay, I put out a plea for members to volunteer their layouts for the open house, and I got a very good response. So we are set for October, we're set for November, and I've got a couple of layouts that are on deck, so to speak, for the first of the year. So we're in pretty good shape as far as layout tours go for the next 3 or 4 months. So I want to thank everybody who volunteered their layouts, and I appreciate the response. Plano Train Show. Plano Train Show, we had a good, it was pretty well attended, and I'd like to recognize Russell and Deborah for coordinating all the activities and all the hard work. Thank you, guys. Okay, then as far as the January Plano Train Show, there's a group of D1 members and D3 members that are interested in putting together some 2x4 modules. And Chris Mahan is kind of heading that up. And Chris, you want to talk some more about that?
Hi guys, I'm sorry I'm back here. Make me turn around, but I'm a little stuck. During the national convention, a number of us were sitting around talking, and we were trying to figure out how we could get more people interested in the hobby. We watch all these people come through the Plano Train Show, and ooh and ah, the kids ooh and ah. Everybody says, oh, well, I don't have a basement, I don't have an attic. So how can we possibly have a layout? Well, what we've done is we've come up with an idea of putting together a 4x8 layout that will break down into 4 2x4 sections. The modular guys are building it for us, wiring it, and our goal is to partially finish it at the Plano Train Show and demonstrate different things, adding structures, adding scenery. Ross is going to help us with structures and scenery, and basically put on a show. And then at the end of the show, we're going to raffle off the layout. Our goal is 1 ticket for $5, 5 tickets for $20 and just to cover our expenses, hopefully, and maybe be able to do it again. If you're interested in helping us, please see me after the meeting or during the break or something, and ask me your name and phone number, because there's lots of different things that can take place in this project. We hope it will attract more young people into the hobby. Thank you.
So the plan is that, we got to go through the New York, Texas Council on Railroad Club to get extra space. And so as a club, I've already talked to D3. Both divisions are willing to pay for a visitor's table. And we get 2 tables to set up either in the NMRA booth or adjacent to it. And Chris and I, as well as Jeff Reichel, are going to put on a little presentation Tuesday at the North Texas Council to get the final permission. So, yeah, Chris. Huh?
That's just only one. If you want to come to something,
Okay, that's fine. So we'll set something up for Tuesday and put on a little presentation and try to get this thing finalized as soon as possible.
yeah, space is going to be at a premium, so.
It'll be HO scale. It'll be, Walters had donated a Build a World to us. And so we're going to use that as a basis for the layout.
We're actually going to use 2 Build-A-Worlds, going to the farm and the city one. So
Okay.
we're looking to basically start and not complete, but pretty much lay out 2 of the 4 modules. The layout will be runnable when it leaves there. Basically an oval for them to be able to run trains.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Okay, Mike Mackey is coordinating something with the Fort Worth Police Department. Mike, do you have any comments on that project?
Dude, thanks, Dick. Last month, Officer Jason Beck came out and talked to us about working with some underprivileged kids over in West Fort Worth, over in the White Settlement area. And he asked for volunteers to come out and help him be trained experts, if you will, and understand that even though you may not think you're an expert, the fact that you're even here today is a whole lot more of an expert than what these elementary and early junior high kids are. And they're just looking for somebody to help mentor them. And the whole idea on this project is to help get these kids that are at a community center in the afternoons heading the right path and not down the road of slinging drugs and doing something else. And so if they can start doing something better with their lives and understand that there's another path and another thing, that's what this is all about. That's what the Fort Worth Police Department's trying to do. BNSF and UP are already behind it. The model railroad crossing is helping put together Lionel sets for this. It's going to be a 4-foot by 5-foot oval of track with a spur on it. And we're going to go in. They're already been painted. The wood's been donated by Lowe's. The paint and everything, they're going to paint it, put the track down, put a transformer in, starter sets. Lionel has stepped in and given them a discount on starter sets because of this whole project. What we need and what I'd like for you to do, if you don't mind, is I've got some sign-up sheets that I'd like to pass around. I got 3 different sheets. And if you would, and some of you raised your hands that you would participate on this last month, but we didn't collect all the names and everything. This month, it's time to put the rubber where it meets the road. So I'm going to pass these around. If you would, grab a pen from a buddy around or whatever, and sign your name and what dates you can work here. And you can see here it's from, that starts on November 2nd, finishes up a month later on December 5th. December 5th is going to be media day. There's going to have press coverage and all that kind of stuff. But it's from 5:30 till, from 3:30 until 5:30 in the afternoons during those days. You'll see what dates it is, but it's during the week. So some of you can make it, some of you can't. I get it. But if you would, we're looking for volunteers to sign up to help work with these kids. Whatever you can do, just be there, show that, hey, this is a better way to do that. They're gonna put scenery down. They're gonna be working with some buildings and stuff like that. So I'm gonna pass these out. Thank you for your help and your participation. Thank you, Dick.
Mike, where is the work going to take place?
It's gonna be at a community center over in, White Settlement, which is West Fort Worth.
Okay.
All right?
What day of the week is it, Mike?
It's different ones and you'll see on the sheet. Okay? And I'm bringing it back. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say that I'm doing something similar to this over in northeast Dallas, in Plano, and the lecture of total conversion is a bunch of fun. So don't think it's going to be you're going to enjoy the hell out of it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything else, Dick?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we also, I see some new faces in the crowd, so I want to take a chance to have the new visitors or new members stand up. I know Greg Riccardi is visiting from, where are you coming from, Greg?
I'm from upstate New York, just outside of Albany, a long way. But Mike and I, we kind of just met by happen chance through a Tuesday night call, a Zoom call, and we hit it off almost immediately. And then last year he came up to the Springfield show in Massachusetts, Amherst, and that's a show that I frequent every year. If any of you ever get a chance to do that one, I highly recommend it. I mean, I know it's a bit of a trip for y'all, but it's 5 buildings of nothing but trends.
So Greg, what do you model?
I model like 1958 to 59 New York Central. I like to do the sides that nobody thinks about. The West Shore of the Hudson River. There's no real passenger service the time I model. It's all pretty much just free.
Which is hilarious because he's an engineer for Amtrak.
Which I was about to get to. And that's why I do it, because I run passenger trains, so I model.
You have another New York Central modeler here, David Ryan, you want to see it?
Don't hang out with him. He's a bad influence.
Anything else, Rick?
Yeah, well, as Duane said, yes, I also have a professional motor engineer. I do a Amtrak. I've got 20 years on the 25 years on the road.
Well, thanks for visiting and welcome to the meeting. Any other new members or visitors? Okay, very good. Now let's go into David Grimes' treasury report.
We got money.
It's good news.
It's
like Christmas trip to Aruba is still on.
September, we had $2,955. Unfortunately, at the beginning of September, we had $3,050. So we had like a negative growth. So it leads me to remind everybody to feed the kitty back there. We pay $1.08 for a donut. What are you paying? And we pay about 65 cents for a can of soda, so you can figure it out. So, thanks, you're kind to
Feed the kitty.
Feed it, yeah. You take a donut, leave some money. Thank you.
Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, we had a clinic that'll start right after the break. Not everybody has paid. Jim, would you stand up? Jim's gonna be collecting money for the make and take. We do have a couple of HO kits that are extra if you have not signed up. If you give Jim your money, I think the HO is $15. You can partake in the clinic. And Duane has produced you want to give everybody a little preview of the.
Eric's already spoken for one. I have an additional 3 because I'll need to build one myself to show you guys how to do it. So what we've got here is, can you turn on the overhead camera down here on the pad? The easiest way to show it. Okay, so what we've got here is we're going to be building a pair of docks to be used for LCL, okay? This is a rough frame. It's a start of the assembly. The idea that everything's been laser engraved already to look like it is timber frame type construction. So these are all peg holes. They are drilled out, and this is you can take it home and do it later if you want, or skip this step if you don't want to, but they are set up so you can put in an MBW on each one of these and run a truss rod underneath it and MBW it on either side to help, kind of keep it from spreading, basically. But you're going to get in the kit, you get one of each. You're gonna get a straight dock and one with a ramp on it. And then these are separated so you can configure them where it's one long dock. You can have them sitting side by side. You can make a T-shape, you know, whatever you want to do with it. These are very similar to some that we have back over here on the club layout. I say we have, but y'all have on the club layout over here, except mine are better and cheaper. But we're going to show you how to put this thing together. These will be ready to install when you leave. These are that simple to put together. There's nothing to it. There's nothing for you to, no parts for you to cut out. They're already done on the laser. Literally, it's going to be gluing pieces together to make some assemblies, putting some stain on it, gluing the assemblies together, and making your ramp. Then the ramp has got a set of dock boards on it that everybody except for David Grimes' in-scale one actually has nail detail in it, because you can barely see the nails in HO, which, by the way, are scale. And you can't see them at all in ends, so I didn't even bother even trying on those.
I got a discount.
That's why yours is cheaper, yes. Because it's a lot less machine time. But at any rate, that's what we're gonna be working on today. These are a very quick build. They're really easy to do, really super simple, but we're gonna walk through it. And like I say, everybody should have a completed set of docks when they leave.
Okay, Duane, thanks for the preview.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I was on the list, but I didn't pay it. So.
this gentleman right here, stand up, Jim. Just pay that gentleman right there. Okay, Chris?
I just want to say a couple things.
Okay, go ahead.
We were talking about money. So just a reminder that an excellent way to help the division make some money is to volunteer to do things for the train show, specifically clinics, because 20% of our return that comes directly to the division is from clinics. So if you do one clinic, you basically account for 10% of our return. So that's very good. Unfortunately, anything at the booth doesn't actually count, because that's all for the pure benefit of the NRA, and that's what we're doing with the trade show. So if you want to help pay for the donuts, pay for the sodas, it's about usually between $1,000 and $1,500 a year that we're making just by participating in the also, I do about 32 hours worth of work for doing the registration forms, maintaining the website, all that stuff. If there's interest in helping out with that, that is also something that definitely help out.
Anything else, Chris?
That's it.
Okay.
Just keep that
This
in
is a
mind.
footnote. Jim Ogden and Deborah Gifford put on a clinic at the fall church. Mike, you had a question?
Now, I just want to acknowledge something, if you got just a second.
Sure.
For everybody in this room, we wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for Chris Atkins. He held this division together for a number of years when nobody else was around, and he is responsible for making sure the Treasury is what it is, and gave a foundation whenever I started as division director that allowed us to move forward with some leaps and bounds. I'm happy to acknowledge that Mr. Atkins, after hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteer work, is turning in his AP certificate for volunteer.
Regional or division AP.
So we're, the division is doing really, really well where the AP is concerned. I would like to see more participation if we can. I do know that we're on the cusp of having one more MMR. Mr. Crumpton, would you stand up and turn around so everybody can see your smiling face? Mr. Crumpton should, at the end of this weekend, be able to finish out all the paperwork for his chief dispatcher, and that will be his 7th certificate, and give him the opportunity to turn in all his paperwork to Mr. Richardson up there to get his master model railroader. Duane, where's the number sequence?
I'd have to go look to be sure. I think the most recent MMR was 745.
So he's gonna be
So
at 7.
yeah, you'll be around
745,
750.
750-ish, yeah, okay. Congratulations on that. If you have any, I'm gonna tell you guys, and we preached it, the achievement program will do nothing but make you a better modeler.
Amen.
It will give you an opportunity to stretch your boundaries, do things that you didn't think you could do, and explore items that you never thought you would. I always thought anybody that hand laid track was an idiot. And then I had to do it to get my civil, and now I found out that I can go in and repair a turnout pretty easily, and it's not as hard as I thought it was. So a lot of this is between your ears and not the difficulty, and you make it harder than it has to be. One of the things you'll find on the AP website is repeatedly it says, don't make it harder than it has to be. And it's a gospel fact. So Mr. Pearson is going to start turning in some of his paperwork. He got called out on that, okay? Eric Smith is turning in his paperwork. So a lot of you are really stepping into that zone of working in the AP program. I really applaud you on that. Mr. Crandon, while I've got the floor, the back monitor is showing nothing but blue screen.
I know.
Okay, didn't know if you did.
I know.
Thank you. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, you're good, I think.
Thank you.
Duane, how about regional AP?
My wife texted a couple of minutes ago, we finally have AP certificates.
Okay, good.
They arrived this morning after I left. So, yeah. Yeah, it's only an hour over there, no big deal. So we will have them for next month. However, I will not be here next month. So I will take the Division I ones and I will mail them to you.
Okay.
And that way you
Or
can
me.
present them next month. Yeah.
Now, why don't you send them, give
okay.
them the mic.
And that way they can be presented next month. I do have everything in. I had reprints from August that we never got, and evidently both batches showed up in the mail.
Okay, very good.
So it only took one of them about 6.5 weeks to get here, something like that. So at any rate, those will be available. We did have, I think, one for you last month. That's here now, or should be. So we will have those available. The only other thing we had left to talk about, I think, with the year in the achievement program was Chief Dispatcher that Mr. David over here is finishing up. And that one is the most fun one of all of them to get because you get it by playing with your trains. It literally is that simple. You're going to go out, you're going to dispatch your railroad. You're going to go out, maybe dispatch someone else's railroad. Mike has been real good about letting others dispatch on his. Ask around. I know Jerry Hoverson over in D3 has been really good about letting others dispatch on his if you want to learn. You need to log so many hours on the road, so many hours doing various jobs, switching and things like that. But basically you get to do it by going and playing with railroads and stuff. If you'll see Thomas Stevens back here, Thomas, wave your hand. Thomas is a member of the Texas Northern Club. So there's another opportunity there for operating sessions and things. If you're interested, see Thomas. You guys are about to get to a point where you guys can start running things over here. So there's some opportunities around if you don't have a railroad to actually work on this one. Some of you guys may have been working on this for years and not even known it. So it doesn't, as I've said several times before, the AP isn't something that only starts counting right this second when you decide you're going to start working on it. It's everything you've ever built. If you put together a fine scale miniature kit while you were still in diapers, it can count. So if you'll get with some of the guys here at the Texas Western, it's my understanding you guys have some logs going back to the old days. They may have some records of your operating way back then. Talk to guys who own layouts that you have. Most of us are a bit anal retentive when it comes to keeping our data, and we have those things logged going back years and years and years and years. So talk with the folks you've operated with in the past and see if they can find some hours for you that they'd be willing to sign off on. So, yes, sir.
Mr. McKinley, where are you? Ed, there you are. He's when I was talking last night, he's got operating hours from the old Lockheed Martin days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna be able to sign off on some of this stuff from over there.
Perfect. Perfect.
And if you would, whoever's got that other sign-up sheet that started at the front, if you've got one, pass it back to the back. I've got 2 out of the 3, so just pass it back as well. Thank you.
Okay, Duane, you want to cover tips and tricks?
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to point out is something that's going to come in on this particular. You want to give me the overhead again, please? Oh, we could, okay. That little guy right there. Cole Rash turned me on to these. Thank you, Cole. This one was given to me by Art when I went to the Bar Mills Clinic at the National Convention. But you can buy these over at Hobby Lobby. They come in a package with like 8 of them in it. And there's 2 different sizes in it, and you can put your glue of choice in it. I'm going to be using this today because putting down this wood glue with this small applicator is really, really handy. And one of the nice things about this, and one of the reasons why I like it, it has its own cap, but if the glue does dry in the tip, a sewing needle fits right down just like that, and you can clean the tip out and go right back to work again. This allows you to put just a little bit of glue right where you need it. So these are really, really handy. The other thing I thought I would touch on as a second tip, you guys have probably heard me talk about this before, or some of you have, is that guy right there. Yes, sir.
I know you haven't done a lot of sewing, but I started sewing needle.
Well, true, yeah. Actually, technically it's a quilting, yeah, technically it's a quilting pin. I get these for when I'm making, okay, so we're gonna have a third tip. When I'm making trees and I wanna do a hyper detailed foreground tree where I'm putting them in one branch at a time, I take a piece of balsa wood. It is the only application in model railroading that balsa wood's actually worth anything for, is carving tree trunks. Take a serrated blade and scratch your bark into it, carve the thing into a rough shape, scratch your bark into it. And then everybody will tell you, drill a hole, take a branch of Caspia, break it off, put it in. Spin the tree around, drill a hole, make a, you know, and problem is when you drill a hole into balsa wood, there is some sort of dark magic that happens and the hole like disappears. So I drill the hole and then I put one of these needles in it, one of these pins in it, sorry. And then I turn it, drill it, put another pin in it, drill it, turn it, put another pin in it, until I get the entire trunk filled up with these different pins. And it allows me to see what the branch structure is going to look like. It's going to allow me to see if I'm not busy enough or too busy in places. And then I go in, I take the branch, I get it sized where I want it. I'll dip it in a little bit of glue. I have something holding the trunk up. I pull the pin in one hand and drop the branch right in it with another. I've not lost a hole in a trunk since. And you go over to Hobby Lobby, go back into the sewing department and tell them you're looking for some of the longest head pins you can find. And they will point you toward these. They're made for quilting and they're about just shy of 2 inches long. And these come in really, really handy, but they're also really nice glue applicators, which gets me back around to what I was going to start off with before. Everybody knows what that is, yes? Yeah, it does have a problem. This is actually a multitasker, okay? Because most of them have a little well in the bottom of them. That you put glue on. The glue is up off the desk. You can't get your arm in it unless you're really trying. You can dip the glue out of it. You can work on your model. When the glue dries, you can come in here with a screwdriver, or I use my infamous negative tweezers, just roll up underneath it, pull the glue off, throw it away, and start over again. If you dump it over, it will only roll in a circle, so the chances of it getting off your table without you catching it first are pretty slim. And when you get frustrated with your work, you can always turn it over and use it for what God intended. So that is a very, very handy guy to have. You can find them for like $1 at Walmart. So, okay.
I found up at Woodcraft
Yes.
a silicone glue tray,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on their clearance rack.
Yeah. Yeah, they make those in a couple of different shapes. They've got several different types of applicators. And the nice part with silicone, man, you flex it and pop the dry glue out and away you go.
Right.
And while we're talking about free things, or almost free things, the desserts at Costco, like the tiramisu and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely great. And, you know, if you don't want to use a whole lot of mineral spirits, some of these clean brushes, you can put them in there, and they have caps. So you can feel them, let them set them and settle.
The desserts from Costco.
Saves a lot of
Yeah.
effort, and again, they're small and they're stable.
Well, what was that again?
Costco desserts, in the freezer section.
Okay.
Costco.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
line for chocolate.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable getting to the bottom of the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's a double win.
Yeah, my wife gets one that has like flan in it or something like that over at Walmart. And it's a round container about maybe 2-3 inches across and all of maybe about 1 inch deep. And I have found that those for putting, using for decaling is really nice, but because you can get even a big decal on that guy and get it wet and set it aside for it to loosen up. Greg?
I was gonna say, when keeping that needle
Mm-hmm.
clear, everybody has scrap wire later on.
Yep.
Glue out there, just take a big piece of wire, just stick it down through the needle and pull it over. That plastic cap will slip right over the top.
Oh, cool. Yeah, good idea.
Just pull it out.
Yeah, the way you go. Yeah, good idea.
Also too, for all of us that still have focal paint, we all like to fight with valve caps.
Mm-hmm.
Screw the cap, take a little Vaseline, put it around the rim, and just screw the cap back on. When it's sealed, it'll all slip the cap off.
Yeah.
In case anybody would want.
Yep.
Good idea.
We all white.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's got a small set of channel locks on their with their paint bottle so they can get the lids off, you know.
Okay, let's move into show and tell. Who's, anybody, Steve?
Well, I have a PowerPoint, a short one.
Okay,
You want-
sure, bring it up.
Next is probably. Okay. There's 3 bottles. I'll just do the next. Yeah.
Oh, I see nice pictures. 100 years old.
Well, it might be funny today. There we go. I get it.
Basswood. Mm-hmm. And then the thickness varies by scale. Except for David's. His I had to cut out of 1/64 plywood to get it down small enough. Otherwise, it was going to be horribly, horribly oversized. No, we wouldn't.
64.
Only have one on the list.
Okay, here we go.
All right. So, the last weekend of September, I put on a night photo shoot for the 2926.
You're gonna have to get down up
Yeah.
to the microphone.
Oh, sorry about that. Down here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next. So this is what the 2926 looked like in her glory days. This is a shot taken at Frost, which is near Victorville.
The microphone. Speak up, please. You just gotta speak up.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk louder. Okay. 2926 at Victorville, California. Next. This is what it looked like when I visited in 2007. They were still taking it apart, taking off appliances, getting it ready for taking the sheet metal and the asbestos abatement. Next. As close up of the front end of the engine, a lot of the appliances were taken off. The bell, the cowcatcher, plow. Next. From the a rear view of the cab section over to the right here is the tender, which they were pretty well done with at that point in time. A much easier project than the engine itself. Next. Some of the appliances that they were taking off for rebuilding, I believe, this is the air pump that sits on the 2 front sides of the locomotive. Next. So fast forward to 20 years, and this is what it looked like on September 20th, 2023, as it's backing out of the engine shed that, where the locomotive was stored in Albuquerque. Next. So it's not the first time it was under steam. This was the second time it was out on the track, but this is the first time that it's going to go down on the main line to a place called the Rail Yards, which is just south of the Albuquerque Depot. Next. Just kind of an art shot of it backing down the spur. The gentleman in the photo is Matthew Casford. He's one of the principal people involved with the 2926 and in charge of rail operations for the 2926. He's also an Amtrak engineer. Go ahead. I didn't bother to take any pictures of it between that point and the rail yard because it was all crazy. People were everywhere trying to meet everybody to the next location. So I just waited for it to show up at the display site, which was in a place called the Rail Yards, which is adjacent to the old Santa Fe shops in Albuquerque. Next. This is one of the night photo setups. This is what I do for them as a fundraiser. And the idea is they sell tickets. You come down with your tripod and camera, and I teach you how to do photos like this. Next. Another one of the setups, we do have models available that we post in different situations during the evening and make them available to do things with lanterns and clothing and maps, so on and so forth. Next. One of the last poses of the evening, getting toward the end. So we have about 3 hours that we dedicate to the photo shoot. Between that time, we probably do over 100 exposures. There's a lot of opportunity to fool around and get different positions and exposure. Next. One of the more unique things that I found on the engine is it has positive train control on a steam engine. And also it has a locomotive control stand in the cab of the locomotive, the steam engine that is. So it's a diesel throttle control with an MU connector at the rear of the tender, so they could operate the steam engine and the diesel locomotive at the same time when the locomotive is on the front of the train. Next. There's the MU connector at the rear of the tender, which is a standard MU connector for any other diesel operation that's in North America.
Positively sacrilegious.
Excuse me?
It's positively sacrilegious.
Yeah,
I love it though. It's neat.
You know, those are in order to operate on a main line these days. These are all the
they're required.
These are all the things that you need to qualify to run on a main line. If you're going to go back and forth 2,000 feet on a spur track, you don't need any of this. But they obviously have bigger plans. Oops.
Yeah,
That's all right. Rerun. Okay.
Positive train control, was that the same sort of setup that's in the 41 big boy?
Yes. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I'm sure all these entities speak with each other. Yes, sir.
Well, only because I'm familiar with
Yes.
the system you're showing right there
Yes.
is IETMS.
Uh-huh.
That's what we call the freight side.
Yeah.
So yes, the system that's in that one is the same system that's in the big boy. It's the backside to that. That's accurate to like 25 feet. So it was rough for them. Okay. So to put it into the steam engine is kind of hard, obviously. To get it to work right is even harder.
I didn't say they made it work.
Well, yeah,
I said it's there.
Well, yeah, because of the length of the engine, GPS rates, it's kind of rough. Where with the diesel, they put the GPS rate.
Well, this is some sort of little testing unit here. They were testing it the day I was there. So it wasn't ready for prime time, but it was getting close.
And also, the reason why they have the diesels with those things usually is because they don't want to replace the brake shoes on the steam engines. It's just
Oh, yes.
cost prohibitive. So
Right.
they really use the diesel for the dynamic braking
That's right.
Yep.
and whatnot, so they can slow the stuff down.
Okay. Thank you.
I also heard on the big boy they use the dynamic brakes, I believe, designed to get some load for it.
because it doesn't run very well without a load. So it ran better if the diesel had the dynamics on while it was pushing, that way you get all the.
There's an awesome video of the big boy helping.
Yeah.
On the train.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't look like that.
Another reason for the diesel, if you've ever been on a steam locomotive that went through a tunnel, it's only seen diesels for many years. Everybody on the steam locomotive comes out carbon covered. Because the exhaust will blast the soot off of the ceiling of the tunnel.
Very good.
Let the diesel do the work of the tunnel.
Very good. Next. So on the way home, I did a little tiny bit of rail fanning. The theme seemed to be windmill trains. So I was fortunate enough to catch blades with windmills in the background. Next, please. Give you an idea if you wanted to model one of these things. Here's the scale. Those are 85-foot flat cars. So it's quite a piece of equipment to model. Next, please. Being in New Mexico, the entire day was full of rain. So I just kind of bulleted home very quickly. Toward the end of the day, I got this beautiful sunset light with these storm clouds in the background. So I thought that was kind of a nice shot. Next, please. Another windmill train in Snyder, Texas. And while I was heading west, it was going, I was heading east, it was going west. 20 miles back, I remember there was a place I could shoot where I could get the train with a windmill. Next, please. And there it is. So windmill train with a functioning windmill. Kind of what I used to do for the railroad, create shots for their consumption. Next, please. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any more show and tell? Russell?
At the National Train Convention, I bought a little kit, place called Mook Train. And then last Sunday after the EP Family Day, I got inspired to get started on it. So I started this Sunday, started staining, and I'm experimenting. Everybody does like paint chipping and all that. I'm trying to do faded paint with, you can see the wood from behind to kind of give it some depth. If you see the deck I did on this,
100.
Duane's wagon. So come on. It doesn't do much justice. But you see how I stained the deck here? I stained the walls as well that way.
Can't hear you.
I stained the walls that way as well, like I did the deck. And I came back with very, very, very thin acrylic paint and fogged over the top of it. And I wanted to have the effect of worn paint, not chip paint. I got chip paint down with a sponge, just fairly easy, but I'm trying to create more depth. So when you look at it, if you're looking into the color, instead of the color looking back at you. Like on the door here, that's an example of staining after versus staining before, for me, that is. That door's gonna come out. I did that as an example. I think the effect's pretty good. I'm gonna work on it some more. So I'm wanting a little bit more grain, but this is light ply, not balsa wood. That's my next one. Another thing I tried, I didn't know was kind of a popular thing, but the shingles, I put down double-sided tape instead of glue. Works great. And then the ridge and the flashing is very, very, very thin copper that I cut out and shape and mold to use for ridges and flashings. But anyway, it was like a $40 kit that I bought at the show. And this, I literally started this Sunday afternoon. And it was that easy to put together. It took more time to try to figure out. I mean, experiment with some other stuff, but thus far it turned out okay. It's not going to be like a contest room build, but it's something to go. There's an area on our layout called Potato Creek, which is an old gold mining camp, and there was a transfer depot there back around 1900. That's kind of what that area is going to go into. Anyway,
So what did you use to stain the deck? Was it just wood stain?
No, I use alcohol ink.
Alcohol ink, okay.
And the alcohol ink works. you get full strength, you could do it with alcohol, and they also got what they call a blending solution. This was all done with alcohol, with straight alcohol, diluting it. And it's about, I start off with just gray, and I sand it a little bit, then I come back with 3 different colors of brown in different areas to kind of create different tones in the wood. And I let that set for about a day. Then on the deck, kind of hard to see it, I think. If you look at it up close, you'll actually see like grooves, like there's deep cracks in the wood. I come back with the blending solution, and when I do that, it kind of dissolves all the ink and makes it run together. It kind of gives like a deep black effect to it. But then once it's dry, like I said, I just thin down the paint real thin. I do it by drops. I do 10 drops of paint to about 30 drops of water. And I don't shoot it like this, I'm way back. Let the mist build up. That's 4 coats of paint. I think I should have done 3. But it's a pretty cool effect for what it is. But it's a long ways from being done. I still got to do the roof here, and actually back here, it's got a brick structure for the heat, for the fireplace, if you will. But for $40 kids, it's not a bad little deal.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And somebody else had a show and tell or a question?
Well, I have a comment. Have you ever used acrylic stain base? And put that on and wipe it off and then just paint over it to get that flavor.
I've tried a few things. One of them as well. I've just had more luck from him. My way, that's how I'm doing.
Whatever
Crazy
works.
way. Yeah, the alcohol works good because it seems to pull the grain up from that.
Okay, who else?
I've used the same base and then wipe the alcohol on. This would be, okay, can I be heard? Okay.
You need the camera?
We might have to take a look at it. Okay. One of the things I like to do is make trees. I've got a couple different methods that, a lot of people use the wire frame trees, but a couple years ago, I had this kind of an inspiration that, you can use the bottle brush technique to make evergreens, which a lot of people do. Well, I said you can use it to make, hardwoods or regular trees, whatever you do. So I brought in a couple samples. These can be trimmed down, but these are made with the bottle brush technique. So you get that kind of open tree look, and
Stick that under 4.
what? Where,
Yeah, we got a close up on it now. Oh, okay.
Here, put it right here.
Yeah.
So, that get it?
There you go.
Yeah, so I think it works pretty well, maybe not as good as some of the foreground trees where I'm putting pins and stuff, but it goes pretty quick, and you can make a lot of these trees of different size, and there's a little bit of randomness to them. You can make them a little bit bigger. This is one of the bigger ones, and when you're going down the road and you look back off in the distance, you got trees of all different sizes in there, and they, aren't real neat. So this makes a nice effect when you get it. And you can trim some of this. You get almost like the bare branches, and you can trim those out if you want. So it's pretty quick. I did when I saw the thing about the aspens, I don't know what an aspen looks like. So I tried a small one. I don't know if this looks good enough for one of the aspens, because I did that as well as the wire, the wound wire thing from the photos. Oops, there we go. So anyway, I enjoy making trees, and if anybody's interested, I can do this. I actually did a clinic on this at one of the
Rocky Mountain region conventions several years ago. So it's a pretty simple technique. Make a lot of cheap trees.
Very good.
So
Thank you. Any other field questions?
David, can I have the little mini camera? I've put together a, using Duane's clinic on making the flat cars a couple of years ago. If y'all remember that, you can go out to the website and see that clinic on how to put together the the flat car load. And so as a result, I tried to do one by hand in accordance with Duane's instructions, and I did not get it to turn out as well as I wanted to. So I turned around and I built on the 3D printer, I generated up a jig that would actually give me the base of the flat car square. And then once you got the base in, then you can turn it over and put the decking onto the top. And that was the basis for, you know, the box cars, tank cars, gondola, it didn't matter. So I used that technique, and you can see once again, I broke off a coupler on this, but this is basically the same car, but just turned into a gondola with stakes holding strip wood sides on. And so that's another car that I'm going to go towards the cars, is I need to finish out the bottom details on that, put the brake system, the air system in, and the truss rods. I just hadn't got there yet. And then the other one that I had mentioned to a few people, I saw at an estate sale about a month ago, this little commemorative knickknack made out of pewter from the very first railway post office car, dated 1862. And it was for the Hannibal and St. Joseph Railroad. So I went out and I tried to find pictures online, and there are maybe 2 pictures in the whole internet of this car. But the car actually still exists in the Pantee Museum in St. Joseph, Missouri. So I contacted them, and they went and took some pictures for me. And so I started designing it up in the 3D CAD package and started to 3D print it. So this is my first prototype of that car. You can see that when you look at it real closely, I actually broke off some of the handrails, but that's just another print. And so I'm actually going to regenerate this car in plastic, but also in wood for the car certificate. And so in wood, and then I'll get all of the underbody. The brake system is in here. And when I originally drew it up in the 3D CAD package, those little lines are so tiny, they printed. But when I broke off of the support from the 3D printer, those little lines stayed with the support. So, I mean, they were less than a hair width. And so what I did was I went back to the original model and I took those out. And so then the other thing is the end platforms, I've merged them to the underbody. And so I've reprinted it with this being a solid piece across the bottom, which has both platforms. And so this is one that I will be moving forward. I'm going to I bought some decal paper to put up decals that actually mimic the car. This is actually a converted passenger car from that time period. And Mike Mackey had told me that at that time they called them varnish cars, because this piece that runs across the top, it runs across the top of both ends, and then vertically down each corner is actually like this gold inlaid wood. And so I'm going to try to replicate that as best I can in decals. And so that's, but the jig, here I'm going to make a shameless plug. The jig to do these, I currently have made that jig as a product, and Russell Gifford is my beta tester to see what goes right and what goes wrong, and then I'll eventually have those for sale. And they're not gonna be the fast tracks, cost. They're gonna be way cheaper than that. So, anyway, thank you.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much. Okay, if there's no more show and tell, let's take about a 5 or 10 minute break. We got some tables to set up for the clinic, and we'll get going on the loading dock. Can everybody?
All right, everybody, let's get rolling. Now, these kits are designed to go together a very specific way. The detail on them is very, very fine. I see people working ahead, and this is going to bite you because I think Steele probably just filed off all his nail detail. The detail on this is exceedingly fine if you're in HO. In S, it's not too bad. In O, it's absolutely wonderful. The way these kits are designed is that they are built to look like they are done with timber frame construction. So what you're going to see when you look at the parts is a lot of little circles. That's where all the pegs go in, okay? The deck boards have their nails in them, and they are to scale. So they are exceedingly tiny, okay? We're going to work on those later. In here, you have enough parts and pieces to put this deck together, both decks together. Get the parts out here. What we're going to do is we're going to work on this in stages because most of these are two-piece assemblies, okay? If you will note, can I get the overhead, please? So if you notice, you'll get parts like this, okay? You'll note one of them has no detail on it at all, okay? Then there will be one that is like that has the detail. What you're going to want to do is marry them up so that it makes the X shape. So basically what you have is a cross brace in front and a cross brace in back. You only need to put just a little bit of glue on the vertical posts, okay? So when you glue these together, don't worry about trying to get some down the angled pieces, okay? Just glue the posts together and across the dock, across the main support of the dock here, all right? That makes sense? Now I popped all the parts and pieces out. If you do see a little bit of little fray sticking out of one end, just scrape that off with a thumbnail or the back side of a blade. But you want to laminate these parts together like that, all right? You're going to find the same with the straight pieces for the straight dock. See, there's the two that don't have any detail. So this one has detail. This one's going to go that way. The other one's going to go on it going this way. Now, I would suggest glue these together first and then stain them because they'll be stronger glued together and less prone to warp. You can even build the whole thing and then come back and stain it later if you want to. I've done it that way too, and it does pretty well, okay? So the little Z pieces are going to work very similarly. When you sort through them, and I recommend you do that now, there's going to be 4 of them that do not have these 2 little notches in them. See there, those 2 right there? There's going to be 4 of them with no notch. That is done on purpose. Those are the ones that stick out on the very end of the dock pieces. Okay? So find those first, and we're going to want to separate those out. If you find a little piece like this guy right here, it's trash. That's just one of the cutouts from between the supports, and I missed getting it out of there while I was packing your stuff. So don't worry about that one. So let me find. Okay, so there's one with no notch. That's what you're looking for, and there's 4 of those. So you want to make sure that those get set aside, and so you know where those are, because we're going to want those specifically for later. Okay. So while everybody's gluing those up, I'll be working on mine. If you want to see what I'm doing, you can see me here on the screen. you have any questions, let me know.
We gluing the small ones together, the Z's?
Yes, yeah, you glue those with the detail facing out on both of them, and make sure that if they're the notched ones, the notches are up on both. Because there's going to be, and see this intermediate piece right here? It's going to run the full length of it, and it's going to sit down in those notches and interlock. Yeah, there's probably one in your kit. So just in case anybody breaks one of these little Z's, there should be an extra pair in each kit. If there isn't, come see me. The ones without the notches, you're going to just take that one and one notched one, and you're going to glue those together again to make the X. But the notch will then go to the inside when we go to put these things together. These don't take a whole lot of pressure. They don't take a lot of clamping. Just be sure when you glue all these together that you set it upside down on the tabletop and hold them flat. So I do it when I put them together. I'm going to glue them like this. I'm going to hold them down like I'm doing right now to make sure that the top is flat and that everything lines up. So you want to make sure you're lined up side to side and that the top is lined up. I'm less worried about the bottom being a little out than I am the top.
I think I've got two one side instead of two outsides.
For which one?
See, I can do, I went through the kits. See, I've got both sides of this one. No. I can do it on. Detail on the outside, detail on the outside. Okay, I was looking at the one with the. Yes.
Yeah, because there's no detail. That one's interchangeable.
Okay, I see what you're talking about. All right.
Yep. Yeah, this is an exercise in patience. Okay. Usually. Okay.
How much time did a HO kit take to burn?
I was burning them in batches of 4, and it ran 38 minutes to do the Z's and the sides, and then the decks. I did those in batches of 2, 4, 6, 8. No, 2 4s. I did those in batches of 8, and they took about 43 minutes, I think, for 8 of the decks. The decks are really slow because of all the nail detail in them, and they're worse in the bigger scales. Yeah, just because. Yeah, so you got a little more machine time involved in it because of the extra stretches that the machine has to run to reach all the different parts and pieces. It's not all as close together. No, I have a universal. So it's not like the little diode ones that you're seeing advertised online for cheap nowadays. So if you'll note, when I glue these together, I'm just coming in and putting just a few dabs up each of the legs. It's not? Okay.
Inner square is going to be your best target area.
Yeah. And all I'm doing is just putting a few dots. Now, one thing I recommended for everybody was that you bring Type Bond 3 or the equivalent, because you're going to be getting your scenery, you're going to be getting this wet when you put scenery down, and you don't want the glue joints coming apart. So that's why I was saying you want to use a waterproof glue if you can find it. Now, one of the things you got to be careful about, you'll see I've got a little, well, you might not be able to see it, I've got a little bit of squeeze out right there. So you can clean that out with a couple of different ways. I have a scalpel here, but you can use the back side of it or your number 11 and just come in here and scrape that back out. That's pretty simple to do. And then if it leaves any kind of shiny spot after you've got the glue residue removed, you can always hit that with some dull coat later on if you want to. Another tool I like to use for that, this is another use for the negative tweezers. because I can get in here real easily, especially with this hooked one, and just flatten it out real quick and clean that up. The main thing I'm looking for is making sure that my joints on all these cross braces are clean to squeeze out. Put them together and set them aside. Okay, that's a no detail, and that's a with the detail. So let's turn this one and
Hey, Duane,
sir.
question on laser cutting.
Mm-hmm.
How much harder would it be to, like, really wood grain texture?
So you can actually add wood grain if you want to. I actually have tried that. It is a lot of extra work in the drawing initially. I'm gonna move this whole thing a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
Duane, what do you use to make your drawing?
I draw everything in Corel Draw.
Damn it.
Yeah, I figured you could just laser cut those flags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's possible to do it. The one thing I've found though is in HO it's so small that it's just not really worth the effort, and the run time is ridiculous. I mean, you could note it'd be one of those things where if I did it, I would do it for myself, but I certainly wouldn't want to try to sell it as a kit, because you know, even a simple little building then suddenly becomes a $500 kit, and they're like, "What did I get for $500 bucks?" Well, it has wood grain in it now.
Hang on.
That's pretty.
It's a
One of
nice.
those that's faster to actually scratch it in than it is to cut it in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by a long shot. You'd spend hours drawing it in. Now, if I were doing something for, say, a contest model or AP or something like that, then yeah, I would probably consider it just because.
Give me a second here.
Could you,
This thing's got a reboot.
so could you, like, for the top of the decks, do like an overall wood grain,
Mhm.
come back and cut the lines deeper?
I'd probably do them all at the same time, because what you would do then in something like that is you would set it up in two different colors, and then you set the power settings differently. So
Well, and that's kind of what I'm doing, because I know on the Monday nights, you talk about the power settings and everything.
Yeah.
Colors.
Okay.
Yep.
But
We're back.
I'm talking about it, drawing it out, just do a whole bunch of.
Here, let me get it
lines
closer to you.
across, intersect it, where it overlaps, and you just have that texture pattern or whatever, say,
Mhm.
and then you just overlap it over your
Yeah.
drawing.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. I mean, Monster Model Works in their kits, he's actually got that set up where he's engraving the brick based off of photographs. It is hyper detailed. I honestly don't see how he makes any money at it, to be honest with you, because the run time on that's got to be ridiculous. But it is certainly a beautiful product. One of the reasons too I like using these negative tweezers, you can see right here, I'm actually got them and they're not quite lined up. So I'm going through this, and you could use an X-Acto and lay it flat and do the same thing, but I'm reaching into the part and pushing down on it, trying to get the alignment better on the top. Because like I say, I'm not as worried about it lining up on the bottom. If the top lines up, the bottom should be good, but it's crucial that the top be in alignment. Because otherwise your deck isn't going to lay flat. Now, in most instances, I do not recommend putting glue down straight from a bottle. I've seen some rather famous YouTubers do it, and I cringe every time, because I'm like, yeah, you can do that because you've been doing it for years and you know the technique, but the average Joe who is going to try to do it is going to end up with half a bottle of Elmer's all over his model because he doesn't know the control method for it. So, but with these little applicators like this, they go down so nice that you can get little bitty droplets right where you want it. Okay, stand it up on end, give it a little bit of a push, set it down, give it another push, and then clean up. Yeah, these little bottles are awesome. And like I say, yeah, this is the one that Art gave us at the clinic, the Bar Mills clinic. I happened to have it handy, so I just grabbed it. I didn't grab one out of the other package. The bottles, the Hobby Lobby, come in 2 different sizes. Okay, so there's basically the side walls. You can see how fast that goes together. We'll start working through the Z's. Has anybody got any questions? Nope. Okay, good. The big things when you're doing the Z's, like I said, make sure that the 2 notches are both facing up, and that when you put them together, detail sides go out, because you don't want to glue those details on the inside where nobody can see it. And of course, they're going to be up underneath the dock where probably nobody's going to see it anyway, but you know they're there and I know they're there, and that's the important part. I like to go through and kind of sort them and arrange them so that when I grab them, I know they're all facing the same way and I don't have to stop and really look at them too hard or anything like that.
How bad is this going to work if I sand it first?
Depends on how wet you get it. I tend to stain mine fairly lightly at a time, so it's not too bad. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total. 11 sets total. And probably in the drawing, you've probably got 12. Not doing what?
That's penance for N scale.
Yeah. It's, yeah, they should just pop out. I mean, like a little bit of little pressure, they should just pop right out. Yeah. When you go to glue the Z's together, it's just like gluing the tops together. I just put some across what's going to be the horizontal bars. I don't put anything down that middle board.
Need to make sure the notches all line up.
Yep, make sure the notches all line up. And what I like to say, if you look what I'm doing right now, so I've got it basically notches down. I'm putting it down on the desk and I'm pushing down on it to make sure those line up, and then I'm shoving them up against my engineer square here to make sure these 2 edges line up, and at that point everything else should line up and I can set it aside. Yeah. I would be hurt if you didn't.
I figured it.
The big thing when you're doing this is don't put too much glue on it. A little goes a long way. And when you go to stain it, don't just flood the thing. Because you start putting a lot of stain on it or a lot of glue, you get a lot of glue, you're going to have a lot of clean out, squeeze out to clean up. And you put a lot of stain in it, you're going to introduce the chances for this thing to warp. This is solid basswood, so it has the opportunity to do a lot of warping. If you want to sand it a little bit, there's some burn marks on some of this stuff. If you want to sand that off, knock yourself out. Just don't scrub on it real hard or you'll take all the detail off of it. Okay? This to me is what I would term an afternoon kit. You can build one of these in fairly short order. You can do it while you're watching the game. I used to say you can do it while you're watching a race, but it hasn't been racing in a while, so.
Well, golf tournament.
Yeah, oh yeah. Might keep your brain active enough to keep you from falling asleep. I love to play the game. I'm just not a big fan of watching it on TV. It's hard. Little ADHD, so my brain doesn't have 2 or 3 things to think about it at once. It's I start looking around for something to do, where it goes, okay, time to go to bed. That and the fact that they'll hit a shot, and I'm looking at that going, oh, dude, you were in jail. You were in jail with no hope of parole, and then he drops it on the green with about yay far from the cup, and you're like, you just want to kill him. If I could reach through that screen right now, I had that same shot. I was on the green 6 strokes later.
Oh, I'm sure.
So about the Z's, you should only have either maybe 2 or 4 extra, depending on.
So there are 7 on the horizontal deck.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on that one, and 4 on the other one. So yeah.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You glue them together, Steele.
Oh, okay.
You glue them together so they make an X brace.
Oh, now you can.
I've been telling you. So I say, when you glue them together, make sure the notches are up. That's what I was talking about.
That's typically a problem. I'm a little disappointed over here.
About?
You think I've done or something today?
That's right. Because it's not going to show.
I know it's there.
Well, then don't put that deck on it. When you get home, put it down with strip wood. And then to put your own nail holes in it. That I'll then ding you for being oversized.
Oh, what I'll do is just go through and cut each one out.
Yeah, you would. Truth be told, I would too, but you know. So one of the things we'll get to here in a little bit when we get ready to start putting these things together is I'll show you how I tend to stain these things and try to keep it from introducing too much warp. The deck board, yeah, the deck's wide enough. It's probably going to warp if you're not real careful with it. You got so you got some weights to set on it so it'll dry flat.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll probably take it home with the underside.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if that's a good point. If you are going to stain the big deck pieces, make sure you stain the top and the bottom. Anytime you're working with wood and you're introducing a wet medium, you want to make sure that what you do to one side, you do to all sides. Unless you're doing some sort of dry brush technique, then you can kind of get away with only doing it on one side. That whole driving me crazy, and some days it's not even a drive.
Yeah.
It's not, like most days it's not even a good hunt for the car keys.
Nope. Just get out of bed. Yeah, just go out of bed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sometimes I don't even have to do that.
Yeah, just wake up.
Nothing else.
No, we're gonna catch it on video.
I'm watching.
But you can still put it down. You put a little bit of glue on something like this and then apply it with a small applicator. That works fine. This is, however, much easier way to go. And the nice part about the glue's cheap. You almost have to take the general's view of privates in the battle. They're cheap, they're expendable.
Amazed at how little you. I can tell you were a private.
Been a grunt my whole life, yeah. Not in the Army, though, not in the military, just an IT grunt. It's like, what, we need another engineer on this? Psh, dime a dozen. March them into the cannon. Half a league, half a league, half a league more. I think who I was talking to at the train show the other day, we were talking about contest modeling. And they said something about, yeah, I heard you have a habit of bringing stuff in that's just finished. I said, just finished. I said, you need to go talk to Dick Brandon. He'll tell you about once we roomed together at a convention. And I spent like 3 days, the first 3 days of the convention in the room, heads down, finishing a caboose.
With people shuttling parts to you from.
Yeah, from all over the place, yeah. Yeah, thanks to Mackie, I managed to get a couple of parts I managed to not have. And thanks to a Hobby Lobby that was conveniently located right down the street, I managed to pick up a couple of others. Got the thing entered with about 2 minutes to spare.
My question is, did you start it before you even got there?
Yes.
So we do the Z's without the notches too, right?
Okay, so a notch, the Z is a notch and a flat. So you have a no notch and a notch together.
Oh, shit. I thought all notches
Didn't
had.
tell us that.
Yeah, I did.
Notches together.
I did all the notches together too.
All right, well, we've got some extra since we had a bunch of no-shows.
So the four that are not notched. You should have three.
So the ones that are not notched, like I mentioned this once earlier, but it must have skated by. The Z that has the board with no notch, it's a notched piece and a no notch piece together. If you didn't do it that way, we can correct it actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
didn't do that.
okay, so we'll make it's a real minor correction.
I think those are the areas.
Yeah, because what we'll do for those who did that, this vertical or this horizontal runner right here, we'll just cut the end off of it where it would have set down into that notch. We'll just nip that little end off and butt joint it.
You get a refund.
And then you will, yeah, you notice I'm ignoring that, right? And then what we'll end up doing then is, like I said, we'll just butt joint those together. You are going to have a couple of ends then that show a notch on it, but that's no big deal. We'll position those so that they're up underneath, so hopefully you won't see a lot of them.
So you don't put the four unnotched together.
Correct. Yep. Unnotched and a notch go together.
I didn't get instructions over it yet.
Do what?
I didn't get instructions over it yet.
That's what this is.
Yeah, but see, maybe so in 1 year now.
I even put it when you get together.
You know, there's a good swing on the
Yeah.
down there where you got the ear.
Now I don't.
So there's that, there's that, there's that. And notches, 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 notches. There's the other one.
I went through and scratched the texture and everything. You know, that's my.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, I was able to get one notch separately.
I wasn't able to, I was able to break it and taking it off.
So if it's notched, unnotched, do you want the notched on the inside?
Well, when you glue them together, you know, detail out, detail
Okay,
out,
that's true.
it'll create the X, and
Yeah.
then, and the details will be on the outside, so,
Yep, I'm good.
yeah.
Got it.
Yep. All right, how we looking, everybody?
Is that back for mine? So what routes do you run on the Amtrak? I'm qualified from Albany, as far west, Syracuse, New York, as far south as New York City. I at one time was qualified as far north as Montreal, Canada. As far east as Boston. But now with your seniority, yeah, and with my seniority, I was pretty much, I mean, I just say, our job is. No, we don't, they don't. One of the agreements way back when was that we wouldn't go on the sunny side.
Yeah.
What exactly is, I don't remember, but I've been to sunny side a couple times.
Yeah, the one that's broke, that may be the one that broke. There's one of them that broke.
Yeah, getting those engraved lines into that basswood, if you hit it just the right soft spot in the grain, it'll get a little too deep and they're real fragile.
I didn't get that fluid out of there.
Never.
So do you need 4 in pieces?
Well, if you want to hide the notches, yes.
Well, I mean, is there an end piece on here and here
So,
and here and here?
what you have is an end piece here and an end piece here,
Okay.
and then a no notch end here and a no notched end there. So each end facing out
So
gets a
on the-
no notch.
On the angled one,
Mm-hmm.
you really don't need to worry about having the no notch.
Yeah, if you don't have a notch on that one, you can bury that one on the inside of the angled one, and
Yeah.
nobody's ever going to know the
And
difference.
that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
That's where I'm gonna put the no notch.
yeah. And like I say, the beauty part about this particular piece is you can put it together so that, you know, the dock will go together this way. You can put it together this way. You know, you can configure it all sorts of different ways.
And the, stringers,
Mm-hmm.
are they different wood?
No,
Taking the style in our wood.
shouldn't. I mean, it might be a different board, but Interesting. Yeah. Nope, same material. It's all bass. And that's why I set that one aside.
Yeah.
I'm kind of letting everybody catch up.
You got a hat pipe going on.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I thought I got you around here. All right.
All right, so has everybody got all their little cross braces and their ends glued together? We ready to move over? Move on? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna keep building on this one. I'll build half of it like this, and then I may stop and stain some of this other stuff. So I'm going to build the little ramp section first because it's a wee bit quicker. So when you go to build, you go to start putting this together. You're gonna take a piece that is straight and a notch. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on one side on either of the ends, just like that. I'm going to take my piece, make sure the detail is on the outside, and I'm going to glue these two together upside down so that the tops are flush. Of course, as soon as I do that and I let go of it, the part comes with me. So this is a piece with a notch and that doesn't have a notch. I'm building it upside down. So what effectively is the top will lay flat, so your deck will lay flat on it. So I've got this wrapped, you can't see it from my hand, but I've got it wrapped around this engineering square. And the Z and the what is now an X brace glues to the back side or the inside of the side frame.
With the notch pointing down.
With the notch pointing down, with the legs pointing up on the side frame,
Yes.
and the notch to the inside.
Yes.
Notch basically towards the top.
Yeah, because you're working upside down.
Well, if you could turn out 90 degrees or almost 90 to see the straight line.
Kind of hard to see it.
Where did you get your
Micromark maybe. I bought they had a set of three, a small one, a medium, and a large one, and I bought two sets. Is that little magnet thing? I might. I'll try it today. I'll look at it later. So I'm gonna let that set for a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna let it set. I was hoping he was gonna be at the show this year, but didn't.
And that other booth didn't have one.
Yeah. So after I've given that a little bit of time to set up, it's not ready yet, so let me put it back. Every once in a while, because this is end grain, In grain to side grain can be a fairly strong joint, but anytime you're messing with in grain and a glue joint, life gets real interesting because it wants to suck up all the glue, and it'll make a weaker joint than doing face-to-face gluing. So I'm gonna put that one, put a little more glue on it, put it back together again. Let that set up for a few minutes. Once that's dry, that's where this little piece right here comes in. Because this is this horizontal piece right here. It'll set inside the notch and then over your X braces, and that'll help you get your X braces aligned. And what that'll end up doing is that'll let you get an X brace behind each leg, so you don't see it showing that way. If anybody wants to come up and take a look at a finished one, they'll be up here. If you are sanding yours, this is a sanding sponge. You can buy them over at Home Depot or Lowe's, several other places. This one is $320. For doing light sanding on stuff like this, nothing lower than 220 grit, or you'll be sanding big gouges into the soft basswood. You'll also be sanding a lot of the detail off of it. So if you do want to sand anything, go with a fairly high grain. Now, an opportunity you have, if you do not want to use the deck that I provided and you want to go a little extra detail. I'm going to cover this just in case I didn't cover it earlier. Each one of these center holes here is set up. You'll probably have to take a small drill and drill it out, but you can mount an NBW into each one of these, a nut bolt washer casting, and then you can run a wire from the inside one to the inside one and put a turnbuckle in the middle of that, and that would then keep the whole frame tied together side by side and not let it splay out, okay? If you want to run some extra detail. There is also an opportunity, if you haven't noticed, to run one right down the middle too. However, those two shouldn't collide. I have not done it yet, I will admit. They should not collide because your braces are shorter this way than they are the other direction. So the linear one should run above, and then the horizontal one, the one that runs the long axis should be higher up, and the one that runs side to side should be lower down. And then you can, like I say, you can put NBWs down the whole thing. If you are going to flush these decks up like this, then I would not put the NBWs on either end, because then it's not going to allow you to mate them together. But that's if you want to, you don't have to. If you want to go the extra mile, you can. That's one of those extra credit if you want to impress your teacher kind of moments.
We were X-rays at the bottom of the leg.
No, top. Sure.
I'm doing my own thing. So I scraped the top out of it.
Yes. Somebody call?
Yes. So you do base coat and low coat?
Yeah, I do alcohol ink.
And then put the truck on top.
Yeah. And then I just got alcohol in here that.
Because I've seen that list that's so dead.
Okay. So one of the things I'm going to look at doing next, if you've gotten that part glued together, I'm going to take my other end
I don't know about
that
that.
is no notch and a notch, and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on the inside of one of the little half notch here. I will as soon as I clear my needle out. There you go. A little bit too much, I'm gonna pop a little bit out. And then I'm gonna take and put a little bit on the end of the leg. And while I'm gluing that up, I'm gonna stand this guy up. I'm gonna put a little bit inside the notch that corresponds with the one that I just did. It'll be on the inside. I'm gonna take this piece right here, the little short piece that has 2 notches in it. It has a notch on either end. The notch on the end, I'm gonna set into that notch I just put some glue in. And I'm gonna line this end up. I'm gonna set it down on the notch as well. And then I'm gonna slide these 2 pieces together.
That's a little sharper.
Yes, sir. The 2 longer ones are gonna go on the longer frame.
The short one with the 2 notches in it.
Yes, sir. Like this guy right here. So what I've just done now is I've put in a linear brace, and I've also now let that lock in the distance from end to end. Okay? Now, as that's drying, you can come back in. I come in here, I put a little bit of glue down into that notch on the long axis piece we just glued in. I put a little bit on the end of the leg, the X brace. And I'm gonna glue in the next one.
Put that through the camera. Got it.
Now, if your self-healing mat has the lines on it, you can also utilize that to help make sure you get these glued in straight. There is a little bit of slop in these notches just to help you. So if they're not, you know, because with the laser, I could have set this thing up to where if it's dead on, it'll fit. If it's not dead on, it won't fit. And the last guy I knew that walked the planet that was perfect, they nailed him to a cross for it. So I figure I'm not that good, and I need a little bit of error for lack of ability.
So the last question is on the ramp, should be 2 notches or a notch?
Well, it depends on how you glued yours together. If you've got a notch and a no, and you've got 4 of those.
I got
you
2.
do. Okay. So let's save that one for later. So let's save. So yeah, let's do it with 2 notches.
I got 2 notches.
So you got, okay. So you got a notch and a no notch. You've got.
This is a notch
so
and a no notch,
okay,
and then I'm
cool.
gonna do a double notch here.
Perfect. That'll be fine. Because then we'll save these 2 then for the long ramp. Okay, so everybody see where we're at now?
We'll go again, I'm sorry. You're taking the all cross pieces, putting where the notches.
An extra one on each show one?
Oh, yeah. So you can just glue it back together if you want to. So you're working upside down, so the notch will go up.
It goes along the
That's
ground.
true for everybody but David.
If the notches ever come a little bit too small, look how the beam is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna file out the beam a little bit. Yeah, maybe the laser was.
It better not be. I just
I'm
took
working
$2,000.
upside down.
to
The
keep it at that.
notch. I'm working the hole in. I look at it, this one broke. So I just gonna and just put
Electron microscope.
my other computers are not.
You know, how are you liking yours?
I still haven't had a chance to play with it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have,
Now that I'm done.
day
with-
one, I would have found a racing.
Oh, yeah, well, I've been trying. I've got about 2 dozen of these. Yeah, I like it. I got about 2 dozen tree winding jigs to get all cut out and everything for the D3 clinic on Saturday. So I'll be working on that one.
It's just the, like, the Kinsey brothers.
Mhm. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that shock method doesn't last variety.
Yeah, I talked with John. I told him, I said, well, I was thinking about doing a tree clinic. He goes, oh, cool. I said, I was going to bring up my old wooden one. And I said, I understand that your brother's retired, so you guys aren't even making tree jigs anymore. And he goes, yeah, we're not making them any longer. And I said, well, that's a shame. I said, well, would you have any heartburn if I said, well, then do you want me to give them your information and have them contact you if they want to have some trees made? He goes, oh, no. I got more business than I know what to do with right now. I said, okay, well, then let's take this to another level. Would you have any heartburn if I showed them how to make the old wooden ones? He goes, no, that's a great idea. Knock yourself out. So we're going to build the old wooden hand crank jobs. Yeah. Yes. You're going to need some wood glue, a drill driver, and a deal to drive Phillips screws, and a comb that you won't want to use for your hair, and a small box. And I think that's it. Let me double check my list here.
Are you doing that for D3?
Opted to do it for here too, but this got picked instead. We could do one here first part of next year if you guys want to do one here.
It's not up to me anymore. But I do know that they're scheduled out early in March. I think they put down
Should be, maybe doing this one. Or with the notches. These insert like so.
Yep.
Doesn't seem to be fitting very well. I went through and I reread those. Now, I'm not saying somebody else's business. Yeah.
I'm using lines of.
I got something on my papers. When I was going back through large thing, I had to go back and read all these notches. Found that when you buy this injury and you put 7 calipers on, they're not, they'll say it's 132nd, and you go down the road. Yeah, it's 132nd over here, it's not there, it's less than, it's, you know. So is this solid? Yeah, wow, that's. Okay, no, I just was curious. So, yeah, you need to. Okay, all right. No problem. I'll try. I'll make a note and add a little more to the SEO. Cool.
They need to change a couple of those.
Together.
Now, once you've had it set up a little bit, like I've got mine right here, you pull that one apart, you flip it over, and then you can glue in the other brace, the other long horizontal one. And then we'll look at putting on that last side.
Can we get the camera up to see what you're doing?
This one broke. I swapped the part out. You know what? I was going to just glue it back together, but you know what? I'm going to steal one from another kit because I think that's a bad one.
I think it's interesting, you get like wood glue to go through that little tiny needle. It was until just now. Just now, and then you're gonna pop it up just now. So it must have set up a little bit. Yeah. Just now. Of course, you never had anybody tell you that, has it? Didn't hit where I needed to glue, it hit everywhere I didn't want to.
So after I get that second linear brace in, I'm going to add some glue to each of the ends of the legs. I'm going to stand up this other side. And glue it together. And I'm going to push down too hard in the wrong spot. I'm going to break apart, so I'm going to glue it back together again. I can relate.
When they're done.
So, Duane,
Sir?
as the ramp goes down, there's a short vertical face, there's no cross brace on that.
About this one? This one?
Like I can see. Yeah,
This
that
one here? Yeah,
nothing-
correct. There is nothing there.
right?
Correct. No, there probably wouldn't have been. They probably would have had a leg or something like that, maybe. But since I had no plans to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, the blue bottle popped open and then forever.
Now, when you go to do your ramps, when you put the deck on them, you'll note one piece is shorter than the other one. The short one goes on the incline. So when you're ready, you can come along, just like we've been doing, a few drops of glue. Yep, the two shorter pieces should be different lengths.
By different lengths, we're talking about thousands, or we're talking about something like
About a board width.
like close.
I mean, yep, there should be a board width different.
You put the sharp piece on top.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
Toward the top?
so like if I put the two pieces together
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
one of them's a board width longer.
Mine's not, mine are right on. The same.
Seriously?
I can make it a board width there.
Hang tight.
You already have too short?
Anybody got two short ones?
Yeah, that's gonna be the other question. It says somebody has a couple of shorties.
No, I got a long one. Two long ones.
Which one goes where and when?
The short one goes on the incline, and the longer one of the two goes on the deck. You what? You got two shorts? Okay.
Hey.
I know where the other one was.
Never pack kits when you're sleeping.
So there's no overhang on the back.
Correct. Do what? Yeah, I don't do much of anything when I'm drinking. Of course, I don't drink that much anymore, so that definitely opens the possibilities up. Now, one other thing to note, when you go to put the deck boards together, one end of that ramp has a whole bunch of nail detail on it and the other end does not. The one with the whole bunch of nail detail, if you really want to get picky, goes on the joint, and the one without goes on the ground side. And there's your short dock.
So the nail detail goes on the joint.
Yes. So that makes sense. So you've got this right here, nail detail goes up on this end. So if you got me up here on the screen, all that nail detail goes right here. And the one that's only got a couple of nails down, what's supposed to be a brace underneath it, goes down here toward the bottom.
They have an angle on that.
Nope. If you want to try to sand a miter on it and all that, you can. That's extra credit. Not a lot, because we're not taking grades. So.
This is considered a kit, so we got the super detail.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is definitely a kit. If you're wanting to do this for the AP, I would suggest you take this home and measure off the parts and pieces. Get you some strip wood and make you a second one out of strip wood. Now you'll note if you're, I don't know, I hadn't mentioned I'd started, so I am actually starting to put a little bit of weathering or a little bit of stain on this one. I'm working out of just the lid and I'm dabbing just the tips of the bristles of the brush in it. And I'm working one board at a time. This allows me to keep it really dry and I don't have to worry about warping the wood that much. I'm using a Hunter Line Cordovan Brown. You can use alcohol and India ink or whatever your favorite choice of stain is. From Hunter Line. Yeah, yeah. That's because they're in Canada.
Or go to the Amherst show, which is cheaper.
Normally they would have been at the narrow gauge convention, and I want to say they might have a U.S. distributor. I'm just trying to think of who that is now.
Midwest?
I don't recall.
I picked one bottle of the Kansas City.
Yeah. I know Dad was talking about getting a dealership set up with them, but I don't think he ever did it. But no, Rick and Maureen are great to work with. They've got a bunch of different colors and stains that are available.
I need to check into, Duane.
Yeah, yeah. Another company that's got some really neat stains is Best, Bollinger Edgley. They have a line they call Vetero. They're a little more expensive. Comes in a glass bottle, and there's not quite as much as there is in one of these Hunter lines, but they come in some really neat colors. They've got one called Murky Brown that's really good. They've got one called Swamp Rot that I like quite a bit. They've got an Ivy Green that's really cool if you're trying to do like moss or molded and stuff growing up on something.
Yeah, if you'll remind me, I'll try to call another line next week, see if we can set up.
Yeah, if you do, I've got about 7 or 8 colors I'd like to get, and I've got some extras. Yeah, they've got okay, so the medium brown is one of my favorite go-to colors. They've got a dark brown and they have a light brown. The dark brown kind of looks like medium brown, only darker, but the light brown actually has quite a bit of red in it. It's not like a lighter shade of the same family, which, yeah. You have to be careful with that blue gray though under certain layout lights, because it really can bring out the blue in it, and some of your stains will take on almost a purple hue.
What was the name of that other kind of stain?
Vetero is the line.
Okay, how do you spell it?
I believe it is Vetro. It's from Best, Best, Bollinger, something like Bollinger Edgley.
Bollinger Eggerly.
Yeah, Eggerly. Yeah, thank you. Scale Trains, I think is what the ST is. And they've got some really neat colors. I've got about 4 or 5 of those. And another one that I was hoping was going to be at the narrow gauge convention, because I usually end up dropping several $100s at their booth in detail parts, and I was going to drop a whole boatload in stains, but they unfortunately had to cancel early.
What was the grade on the Hunter line? What was the brownish grade?
The one I'm using right now is Cordovon Brown, but medium brown is the one that I use quite a bit.
On the big deck,
Mm-hmm.
the center field or direction.
What do you mean?
Can't flip them around. They don't line up with the crosshair.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. Let's go back and check my artwork on that one. Would have thought they would have been.
Yeah, I had to flip them around. I wasn't getting an alignment with the side cover.
Okay, so, all right, so if everybody caught that, when you go to put this piece in on the long deck, evidently it's directional, and I must have guessed and got them both right when I put together the one here earlier. So dry fit it together first and make sure it's going to align with the posts down the sides. Because what you should end up with is this look right here. So you'll have 2 of them glued in, and they'll all line up just like that. Now you'll notice too, I was working out of the cap before, and now I'm dipping it into the bottle. I'm watching inside the bottle, and I'm making sure that just the very tips of it touch the water, so I'm not getting a full well of stain. And again, the idea is to try to keep from putting more stain on this than I have to, so I don't introduce any additional warping. And normally I would stain this, once we got the 2 side pieces together, I would stain it and then put the whole thing together, but it shows up better on camera if it's raw wood.
Short post on the bottom on that ramp doesn't have to.
Correct. If you want to come in and put some strip wood down the centers here, you can. I found it's one of those things where nobody's going to see it. If you, again, if you were looking to build this and get it judged, then yeah, I would probably go ahead and put something in there. But If you're looking to build this and take it home and drop it on the layout this afternoon, wouldn't worry about it. Because nobody's going to know it's there. Yeah. And if the fact that I know that it's not there bothers you, then, you know, that can either keep you up late at night or you can go put some more detail into it. There you go.
Of course, he's still waiting on the jacket and line order to come in.
That one with the really long sleeves?
Yeah. Are they taking forever in the delivery or what?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a backlog in shipping there.
Was it shipping or was it the gold-plated?
Sir.
Your deck go all the way to the edge of your bracing?
Yeah, edge to edge.
I've got a little bit of deck bracing showing, and they're squeezed together, so.
Not sure what to tell you on that one.
That's okay. What's this part of the city?
I'm sorry again, the long one goes on the top.
Yes.
Sorry, the long deck goes on the top.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes on the flat surface and the shorter deck goes on the ramp.
On the ramp, got it.
And you don't have any nail detail to worry about, so it doesn't make any difference which one you do.
I didn't bring a plan. I might currently Don't expect more money.
No, I figured you'd break something, so I gave you an extra.
Oh,
Now, depending on if you made your stains and what you made them out of, or who you're buying from, some stains have some solids in them as part of their coloring. And every once in a while, you want to put the lid back on the bottle and shake them back up. Just a good habit to get into. Now, one thing I will tell you, if you're making it alcohol and India ink, if you don't shake it, you'll get darker colors if you let your paintbrush go all the way to the bottom, and you'll get lighter colors if you just get into the top.
I can see that just in my lid.
Yeah.
The old steel wool and vinegar.
Yep.
How long does that stay in the bottle?
Usually a few days. If I
Will it rust the steel wool out? I can't remember.
do what now?
Will it totally rust the steel wool out? Or?
Yeah, eventually it will. The trick right now is finding real steel wool. Most of the stuff's been changed over into like aluminum or something. And boy, I just completely goofed that one. I've got two of them glued in the wrong way. And yeah, finding some that's real steel is real challenging anymore. I tried to find some a few years ago and had absolutely no luck at all.
My grandfather had about 4 bags. Pretty sure that's real steel. They always got. This. Better than, oh, better than basketball, much better. So, yeah, there is, there's a switch over at Fort Worth. It's not a real hard. And there's a couple of dead spots here and there, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a part of a full gauge turnouts. So trying to piece that all back together again. Or add features or whatever. All right, because, yeah, because there's some spots where. Fort Worth has that spot that I Fort Worth for sure. I went down there. Yeah, they're no, those are actually great cash. Yeah, that's, I was even Tuesday.
Now, from a weathering perspective, Cole's talking about doing some damage to the deck boards. They did not daintily grab something and very ever so gently lift it and set it down with all kinds of grace of a ballerina. They will pick something up, drag it off the car, drag it onto the dock, and it is what it is. So the edges of loading docks and the edge boards of flat cars take a real punishment. And you can achieve this a couple of different ways. You can do it with an X-Acto, and you can do some cuts in there. I tend to use my negative tweezers. I've got a pair at home that are very, very sharp points, and I'll just take those along the edge of the deck and come in here on the edges and just start picking at it. What you will do, however, is you're going to destroy all that nail detail I put in on these things. So that part is up to you.
You can add it back.
Yep. Just don't press real hard on it, or you're going to end up with a nail about the size of a dessert plate.
Depends on how small the needle is.
Very true.
Yeah. But underlying doesn't dry quite as fast as the alcohol.
Depends on which bottle it is. I think they've got some that are done with alcohol and some that aren't.
This one is creosote black, wood stained with rubbing alcohol base.
So that's got a rubbing alcohol base. So it should flash off very similarly to. And that creosote black's really nice if you want to have it to be kind of a new deck or new-ish deck. that kind of silvery color that it tends to turn after it's been out there for a while. That's why I like this brown.
Back on Chuck Brown, when he was out in California, he, got a whole bunch of things on, he bought one of these. Yeah, I'm on it. They do the lady came up with, we were yeah.
What's up?
Centerpiece.
Yep.
I have 6 of them.
What's it doing?
I left one side raw.
Yep. Yeah, I'll do that every once in a while with deck boards. And then, in fact, I'll do that on this one.
For like the tire tracks and stuff, you just use powder and stuff.
Usually, yeah, I'll use a weathering powder to put those in. Little forklift marks, things like that. Yeah, you can do it with stain if you want to find one that's got just a little bit of darker color, and you can come back in and do it with that. But I actually like doing it with powders better. Sometimes even just powdered graphite works so nicely. One advantage to doing them one board at a time is it allows you to skip one like I just did. And you can leave it where it looks like they've had to replace a deck board.
Oh, these guys.
Yeah. About 2 miles from my house.
Work has been very challenging.
I heard that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, life's
Those of
rough,
us
isn't
that
it?
are retired, it's been horrible this year.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. For those of us that aren't, may I comment?
Yeah.
I promise you weren't dealing with somebody shot at work already.
Shot at work? That's not good.
In Forest Hills, right?
Yeah, David Kids over about a mile and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, you win.
And they found the suspect dead somewhere. Huh? I think they said they found the suspect dead.
They didn't confirm that.
They haven't, oh, they don't.
Or still calling in check it.
Thing I can't figure out.
We have a murder on video.
The thing I can't figure out is they could do a crime like that and almost overnight here in the city.
I think it's all right, you talked about the stuff that we realize this is being recorded.
Thanks for the reminder, David.
I got woke up about 6:55 and did it.
You're in HO, I have a bottom break.
Yeah.
No, it's not an
Oh, 10 seconds of the water clock.
I'm at the University of Texas.
All right, man.
University and supposedly a West fraternity.
Did you get yours all done? Or just the rent?
Well, I didn't. Yeah, I'm gonna do the other one also.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Better glue.
Or an application.
Aftercare. Yeah, I got one of those small things from Farm Mills and I didn't bring it with me.
I just walk around on the frat house.
Duane, when do you want to go up to Orange?
I've got some cars back there I need to judge, and then we're gonna have to grab some lunch.
It's probably gonna be, leave here at 2.
I don't know what time we at now. We're at 1 o'clock now. We go ahead and call a halt here pretty quick. We can go judge those cars real quick. And
I mean, that's sure good stuff at the university level. You used to hear about high school. Some of these people, I don't think that high school should be a place to do.
You know what, I'm kind of hungry, I'll go out, you want me to get, you want some lunch?
yeah, we'll go grab something here on the way.
Okay, you know what, I can go out and bring it back if you want.
That's all right. I appreciate it though.
Okay.
Well, I get it, Friday.
Where's Mike way out at?
Keller.
Keller? Okay, so it's kind of sort of on the way back home.
It's north on 820. And then Precinct Line Road, straight up Precinct Line Road. Mike Armstrong.
Did that get announced, by the way?
It got, the things got passed out.
That's the one you don't need a code to get into the.
No, you do need a code.
We did that one.
Not on the layout tour. Mike Armstrong, not Mike Ross.
Okay, I recently went to the layout where I had to give my name to the guard, he looked, okay, go ahead.
That's Mike Ross.
Okay.
This is Mike Armstrong.
Yeah. He's in a gay community too?
Yes.
It used to be.
He always has been. Yeah.
Okay. Why do I bother remembering stuff? There's always right.
I don't know. You'll have to answer that yourself.
Will do.
It could be that you just let the gate open. I didn't think that.
Anybody else want a dress for the layout tour?
Yeah, I need one.
Follow me. There you go.
Cool. Just in case we get separated or something.
Anybody else want a layout tour dress?
For years I had.
Or lunch?
You come in, it's always the second, third day. I gotta go home.
What are the hours on the layout?
Okay, I got.
1 to 3. So you just start.
So.
Yeah, I've got one. Who is this? You've been to Michael?
Yes.
Who is this?
Mike Armstrong?
Is this the Rock Island layout? Yeah. Oh, that's the one. Okay, I was thinking the other Osteen layout.
That's Mike Ross.
Okay, no, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Woodruff.
Basically, I said no, so you could, they were like, all the sob stories, finally, my dean yeah. And like, well, that wasn't agreeable. The second time I had the dean, I said, okay. I got this guy like walk out. I did that 3 times. And I failed him 3 times. I told him, you know, I told him what was going to happen. But I'm just sitting there kind of going, oh, let's do college.
I have a number of students
loose or?
No, had to put a little glue right there. Yeah, it's bowing.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would take it and lay it down like this, get it wet, and then set something on it. So you can see here, I actually had my engineering square on that, and it left the mark.
Okay.
So I have to do a little cleanup on that one. But
Yeah,
get
it was separating up here, so that's why I just put some glue in there to stay. Okay. I just wondered how you get rid of that little bit of curvature.
Yep. Yeah, just get it wet again and then put something on it to flatten it out.
Okay. Do.
Okay.
Think you're gonna be a model railroad?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. But here's, this is the partial color of my using chalks. Like that.
Is this, the burnt umber, or did you have a mixture?
No, I did one color. Now, then I'm gonna go back and put another couple colors on it in spots.
Yeah.
And then drip more alcohol on it. So I don't know, we'll see how it turns out. It's an experiment.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I am, right? I learned to look at the video again, where he shaves it on the dry wood and then goes over with alcohol. What I did before was I mixed several in a bowl and added alcohol, so I had just a slurry and it just didn't have any pop.
But when I did it over the wood, I did a couple of strips. I mean, he stuck them together, I put it all over there. I put all the colors on there.
Don't understand.
It was all one color.
Duane, thank you.
Really?
You bet.
Even after you did that?
Yeah. And so I thought I would try putting different colors in different spots.
Well, and I was thinking that maybe you go over very lightly, and I watched his video, and he said just slop it on.
He did say.
So it kind of made me think.
All right, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
It'd be a phenomenal fee.
Hey, Duane, I think we need to shut it off.
Yeah.
So I've still got some experimenting.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and call it. If you got any questions, y'all know how to get a hold of me. No, I don't.
Well, this was great.
I've got this.
Duane, thank you very much. It was
Thank you, Duane.
very nice.
Good job.
We meet at the, was it Christ the Servant Lutheran Church in Allen. It's on Greenville. If you take 75, go north and exit at Bethany, then you're going to come down to the light. You're going to hang a right, so you're